What if the ocean wasn't this calm, beautiful place we dream of visiting, but something we were terrified of? If megalodons still ruled the seas, 71% of Earth wouldn't really be ours anymore. The ocean wouldn't be where we surf, swim, or explore. It'd be a line we'd never dare to cross. Because stepping into that water wouldn't mean adventure. It'd mean accepting just how small and how snack-sized we really are. Think about that for a moment. The ocean, which covers nearly 3/4 of our entire planet, would be the exclusive territory of 60-foot-long prehistoric sharks with teeth the size of your hand and bite force strong enough to crush a small car. Beach vacations wouldn't be a thing anymore. Cruise ships would never leave port, and the idea of commercial fishing? That would be suicide. 3.6 million years ago, the Megalodon, the largest predatory shark to ever terrorize the oceans, finally went extinct after ruling the seas for roughly 20 million years. Scientists believe they disappeared due to cooling ocean temperatures, declining food sources, and competition from evolving killer whales. But what if they adapted? What if these apex predators simply evolved to handle the changing conditions and kept right on hunting in the deep blue darkness? Welcome to a world where humanity is permanently banned from 71% of the planet's surface, and the concept of international maritime trade is basically a fantasy that never happened. In this terrifying timeline, human civilization would have developed in dramatically limited and restricted ways. We would be a landlocked species trapped on isolated continents with absolutely no ability to travel between them safely. The seas would cut us off completely. There'd be no exploration, no exchange, and no sense of a shared humanity. Every continent would be its own experiment, entire civilizations rising, falling, and vanishing in isolation, never realizing that other worlds existed just beyond the waves. Still, let's say humanity being humanity, we would have tried to find a way around it. Picture trying to build a boat in this reality. You are not designing a pleasant recreational vessel for weekend fishing trips. You are engineering a heavily armored military submarine, specifically built to survive attacks from a creature that makes great white sharks look like harmless goldfish in a bowl. Every vessel that dares to touch ocean water would need to be a literal floating fortress, made of reinforced steel plating at least 6 inches thick, equipped with active sonar systems, defensive weapons, and probably some kind of sacrificial decoy system to distract hungry megalodons. And if crossing the ocean is basically a death wish, how are we supposed to move anything or anyone between continents? The global economy would be completely and fundamentally unrecognizable. Cheap goods from overseas factories would vanish. Shipping routes that once connected continents would collapse. Even the idea of fast global delivery would feel like ancient history. Every single region would need to be completely self-sufficient, producing everything locally from food to medicine to technology, because there is absolutely no way to safely transport goods across the open ocean. Your iPhone wouldn't exist. The coffee you drink every morning? Gone. The clothes on your back? Only whatever your own continent can make. The ocean cuts you off from everything else, and if the oceans make trade impossible, they'd make living near them even worse. Coastal cities would be death traps that no rational person would ever choose to build. You cannot construct a thriving metropolis on the ocean shoreline when there are 100,000-pound killing machines actively patrolling the waters just a few hundred yards away. Every beach would be fortified with massive underwater barrier walls, extending hundreds of feet below the surface. Harbors would be impossible to maintain. Ports would not exist. You'd think staying close to shore would keep you safe, until you realize any building within half a mile of the ocean would need to stand on massive concrete pillars, because megalodons hunt in shallow water when the tide comes in. The fishing industry would be completely non-existent as a viable economic sector. You cannot send humans out in boats to catch fish when the apex predator in the ocean views humans as convenient appetizers. Any attempt at commercial fishing would result in immediate disaster and tragic loss of life. We'd be stuck living off freshwater fish from rivers and lakes, whatever we can raise in inland farms, and probably a lot of sad vegetarian meals. If we can barely feed ourselves without dying, you can forget about travel altogether. Tourism to tropical islands would not exist at all in any recognizable form. There would be no resort hotels in Hawaii, no vacation getaways in the Maldives, no honeymoon trips to Bora Bora. These places would either be completely uninhabited, or they would be isolated fortress communities with absolutely zero contact with the outside world. Island populations would be permanent residents who committed to staying there for life, because leaving means risking a journey across Megalodon-infested waters. Also, when it comes to scientific research, it would be almost impossible to conduct in ocean environments. Marine biology would be the most dangerous profession in human history, making astronauts and bomb disposal experts look like safe career choices by comparison. Studying ocean ecosystems would require robotic submarines controlled remotely from land, because sending actual human researchers into the water would be considered voluntary suicide. We would know less about Earth's oceans than we currently know about the surface of Mars. Naval warfare would be absolutely pointless and strategically useless. You cannot project military power across the seas when your expensive warships are just floating buffet tables for hungry megalodons. Aircraft carriers would be sunk within hours of leaving protected harbors. Submarines would be destroyed by creatures specifically evolved to hunt large prey in deep water. Every navy in the world would be limited to coastal defense operations in heavily fortified shallow areas. Offshore oil drilling? Yeah, that's not happening. You can't build a massive rig in the middle of the ocean when a 60-foot shark can turn it into a pile of twisted metal in 5 seconds flat. No oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, no pipelines stretching across the seafloor, no offshore wind farms, no underwater anything. Humanity would be completely landlocked, burning through whatever resources we can reach and scrambling to invent clean energy way earlier, just to keep the lights on. And without access to the ocean, our understanding of the planet itself would be embarrassingly limited. No research ships, no deep-sea sensors, no ocean buoys tracking temperature or current patterns, and weather forecasts? Basically educated guesses. We'd have no clue what the ocean was doing until a storm hit our shores and reminded us who's really in charge. Also, that ignorance wouldn't just cost us science, it would cost us our story. Shipwrecks, sunken cities, entire civilizations buried beneath the waves, gone. The Titanic? Never found. Lost trade routes, never rediscovered. The ocean would be one giant museum we're too scared to enter. A vault of human history sealed shut by monsters. Well, what about communication? Forget it. We'd be decades behind. No fiber optic cables running under the sea. No high-speed internet connecting continents. Every international message would have to bounce off a satellite somewhere in orbit. Video calls would lag. Global business would crawl. And the internet as we know it, instant, everywhere, would be nothing but a dream. Diplomacy wouldn't fare much better. With no safe way to travel between continents, nations would turn inward. Maybe a few daring airships would try to cross the skies, but for the most part, every continent would be its own isolated world. The United Nations? Never formed. World wars? Impossible to fight. The irony is, the only reason global peace would exist is because we couldn't reach each other to start a fight. But hey, there's one upside. The oceans would be spotless. No oil spills, no plastic garbage patches, no fishing nets strangling coral reefs. The seas would be clean, thriving, and ruled entirely by megalodons. Nature wins, and we just don't get to be part of it. Beaches, though? Different story. Nobody's relaxing there. The sound of waves wouldn't be peaceful. It'd be a warning. Surfing? Gone. Beach towns? Ghost towns. Kids would grow up never feeling the ocean breeze or tasting salt on their lips. The shoreline becomes humanity's edge. Beautiful from a distance, but cross it, and you're gone. So maybe we should be a little grateful that megalodons disappeared 3.6 million years ago. Sure, we lost the most impressive predator to ever rule Earth's oceans, but in exchange, we gained the freedom to explore our planet, to connect with distant civilizations, to build a global world, and, every now and then, to enjoy a beach vacation without worrying about becoming lunch for a prehistoric shark the size of a school bus.